In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and JSA 10:4-6, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising in the Star Ledger, El Nuevo Coquí, AT Progres, Uso Americano newspapers, and by distribution to administrative offices of the Newark Public Schools. A copy of this meeting notice was forwarded to City Hall for posting. This is a regular advisory board meeting, Tuesday, October 27th, 2009.
Everyone, please stand.
Want me to hold those?
I will do that after.
Okay.
Take over. Take over. Before we do roll call, if we can just all stand and have a moment of silence. Unfortunately, this past week's been a rough week for the NPS. We lost a former student and 2 former employees, so at this time I've asked all of you to have a moment of silence for those that we've lost. Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Arnold. Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Ms. King. Here. Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Ms. Pintor. Mr. Rivera. Ms. Romero. Ms. Davis Spade. Here. Ms. White.
Thank you. Now we will have greetings from our principal here at Newark Eastside, Dr. Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. First of all, the Winter Guard participants you saw tonight were Tiffany Velez, Tiara Napier, Marvin Basilio, and Lisa Williams. Will you please stand and be recognized? The Winter Guard here at Eastside High School was formed in 1983 by Dr. Grant. Dr. Grant, please be recognized. And since that time, they have won 3 national titles, 5 undefeated seasons. Eastside is the only competing color guard in the city of Newark, and students travel all over the country competing against other high schools. The Guard is comprised of elementary, high school, regular, and special needs students. So congratulations, and thank you, Ms. Napier, for doing the national anthem. We appreciate it. Once again, welcome and good evening, Dr. Janey, Superintendent of Newark Public Schools, advisory board members, faculty, parents, and students. Eastside High School is a mosaic of cultures. Like a mosaic that has many tones and textures, we have students from 39 countries and from every corner of the world. As a matter of fact, the only continents that are not represented in our school are Australia and Antarctica. When walking the halls of Eastside High School, one will hear a variety of languages spoken. 19 different languages are represented by our student body. Our diversity gives everyone a sense of pride. Students are proud of their heritage and at the same time appreciative of each other's differences. Our diversity and our desire to achieve the American dream is what makes Eastside a great high school. I am humbled to be the principal of such a unique and exceptional high school. Thank you and welcome.
Dr. Santos is PTA president here. Want to call her up, please? Thank you.
It is my honor and privilege to have Ms. Sherry Carey, our PTA president, say a few words to the community.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for coming to Eastside High School. I'd like to thank the staff, parents, community, and teachers. And I'd like to also thank you for allowing me the opportunity to volunteer for Eastside High School. And thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carey. At this time, I would like to bring up my former teacher, and certainly who has been here at Eastside, has been an exception here with the students. Ms. Duarte is the advisor of the Portuguese Club, and she's going to present one of her students who is part of her club and was also a former student. So, Ms. Duarte.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, my name is Mrs. Duarte. I'm the club advisor of the Portuguese Club, Os Académicos. The club was founded in 1969 by Mrs. Manuela Cardialos, and later on I inherited the club. I'm very proud to present tonight Pedro Botas, a student of mine and a member of the club. As a matter of fact, he's the president of the club. He's going to sing a song from the Fado, which is a special kind of music, which is very similar to the blues in the United States. It brings out your soul. So let me present the president of the club and a very talented student, Pedro Botas.
Hello, everybody. No castelo ponho cotovelo, em alfama descanso o olhar, e assim desfaço o novelo de azul e mar. À ribeira encosto a cabeça, almofada, a cama do Tejo, lençóis bordados à pressa, na cambreia de um beijo. Lisboa, menina e moça, menina, da luz que os meus olhos veem tão pura. Teus seios são as colinas varinas, pregão que me traz à porta ternura. Cidade a ponto luz bordada, toalha à beira-mar estendida. Lisboa, menina e moça amada, cidade, mulher da minha vida. No terreiro eu passo por ti, mas na graça eu vejo de nua. Quando um pombo te olha, sorri. És mulher da rua, e no bairro mais alto do sonho ponho o fado que eu soube inventar. Aguardente de vida e medronho que nos faz cantar. Lisboa, menina e moça, menina, da luz que os meus olhos veem tão pura. Teus seios são as colinas varinas, pregão que me traz à porta ternura. Cidade a ponto luz bordada, toalha à beira-mar estendida. Lisboa, menina e moça amada, cidade, mulher da minha vida. Lisboa, no meu amor deitada, cidade por minhas mãos despida. Lisboa, menina e moça amada, cidade, mulher da minha vida.
I found out today that Pedro and I come from the same region in Portugal. And Pedro has been in this country he started at Ann Street about 4 years ago, and now he's graduating from Eastside High School. And that's Pedro Walter, speaking one of the 19 languages here at Eastside High School. And we're very proud, of course, to be the Portuguese-speaking high school here in the Newark Public Schools. So with that, now we have another very short, brief, quick program for you. We are very proud of our signature academy, and that is the New Media Studies Academy. And I'm going to bring up the out-of-the-box teacher of this wonderful program, and that is Mr. Andy Tehran.
Good evening, I'm Andrew Tehran, the lead teacher of the New Media Studies Magnet program here at Eastside High School. I'm here with a number of my current and former students to show you guys a little bit about what we do. So first, I'd like to introduce Stephanie Garcia, a senior, and the anchor person of our Eastside Insider News magazine.
The New Media Studies Magnet program is one of the premier offerings of Eastside High School. The award-winning and internationally recognized program provides the opportunity for students to participate in the state-of-the-art course curriculum that prepares them for the 21st century communications workplace. Completely computer-based, the graphic design, video production, and animation program that has been developed over 6 years by teachers, students, and administrators committed to its success. Each year, the students produce original, creative, and engaging films, animations, and graphic materials. These projects frequently win awards in state and national film festivals. The program has gained international recognition, being featured in the French periodical Le Nouveau Observatoire, and by participating in European film festivals that feature student film festivals around the world. We will now like to show you our film from last year, Fernie Mae. The film, which was completed in 2008, has received many accolades. It won Best Fiction in the Newark Public Schools Film Festival. It garnered many individual awards at the NPS Film Festival, including Best Direction and Best Animation. It was an official selection for the New Jersey Young Filmmakers Festival and the Princeton Student Film Festival. Stories on the film were featured on Channel 12, Channel 9, and RTP, Radio Television Portugal International, which is seen in 6 countries. Most recently, the film was screened at the Four Rivers Film Festival at Karlovac, Croatia. Let's have a look.
Trans-dimensional jaunt successful, with only 12% deviation from calculated norm. Space station security unaware of Terran agent presence. Determine location of the Nexium shard. Proceed to outer pylon, section 4, control room. Kinetic sensors detected for the next 15 meters ahead.
Well, we can't watch the whole thing. We're limited time here. But I'd like to introduce now two of the students here who made all these crazy special effects and animations happen. It's a recent graduate, João Tarocco, and our sophomore wunderkind, Leonardo Gulli, will show us some of the cutting-edge technology that the kids are using.
One of our most challenging programs that we use in the New Media Studies program is Autodesk Maya. It's a 3D animation program, and it was used in films like Spider-Man and Finding Nemo. The greatest thing about this program is that it's not just about creating a character in the green screen and bringing it to life, but it's also it's an example of mathematics, geometry, and calculus coming into a tactile environment. Let me show you what we mean. Over here, we have an example of a set that we've been working on it, and this is all a 3D program. I mean, it's made object by object. It's around 3,000 volts. Show the wireframe. Just press 4. Yeah. Sure. It's loading because it's a heavy program. And anyway, we have the wireframe of the objects, and then it's composed by shading, there's texturing, there's lighting, and after everything is put together, we put the characters in there, and then we can show different things, like there's sets, there's characters, and
Thank you, João. He's a little bit taller than me, I'm sure. That's a very complex program, and that's one of the things that I think is the most important part of this, the new media program. It's not just about kids doing cool things on computer. It's a holistic educational experience where the complex mathematics that you can see takes place here. But not only that, they have to write scripts because nothing gets on the screen without getting on the page first, and that has to do with English. And we have teachers from the English department like Meg Murray, and a new teacher, Micah Fink, who work with us on that. We have history department because the students make documentaries that won first place in the New Jersey Bar Association Lincoln documentary last year. And they have to do the research in the history department. And it has to do with so many other programs. Ms. Duarte participates where we do subtitles and we present in different languages. And there's so many other cross-curricular, interdisciplinary skills that take place bringing this onto. It's not just cool special effects, even though that's the best part for us. So thank you for your time and attention.
Once again, I want to thank Mr. Tehran, Andy Tehran, and Ms. Isabel Duarte for believing in our students, seeing the vision, and letting the students achieve that vision, because behind every great school are great leaders, and those leaders are in the homes and in the classrooms. Thank you.
Dr. Santos, on behalf of the board and the district, we want to thank you for those wonderful presentations. We know the work that you do here. We want to wish you the very best of luck. If there's anything you ever need, don't hesitate to call on us. We're really excited about what's going on here at Eastside in the media program. Thank you. Board members, we will now move to approval of minutes. We are going to approve minutes for our September 15th meeting, Board of Business meeting, September 22nd special advisory board meeting, and September 24th, our regular advisory board meeting. So if I can have a motion to move the minutes in a second. Moved by Ms. Pintor, second by Mr. Rivera. Motion to approve minutes. Roll call.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King? Yes. Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Davis-Spade? Ms. White?
Okay, I will now turn it over to our district superintendent in place of Dr. Janey, who is our chief academic officer, Sadia White. Ms. White.
Good evening, Advisory Board President Gonzalez, Advisory Board members, parents, and community. On behalf of Superintendent Janey, I will be bringing before you the report of the State District Superintendent. The superintendent could not be in attendance today. He is on his way to attend the fall conference of the Council of the Great City Schools. The Council of Great City Schools has a large footprint within urban school districts in the United States, and its large impact on education issues and student achievement research globally. This council membership number is 66 members among its numbers of the urban school districts that represent 6 million students. Dr. Janey has the esteemed honor of serving as chairperson of the executive board and has the distinction of being voted as chairperson for 2 consecutive terms. Also serving on the Student Achievement Task Force. The Council of Great City Schools brings together the nation's largest urban public school systems in a coalition dedicated to the improvement of education for children in our cities, as well as Newark through our superintendent, to help our students meet the highest standards and become successful and productive members of society. He did postpone his departure, however, to address the amendment to the school calendar, and I will read for the record his letter to the parents. Dated October 22nd, dated October 27th, 2009. Dear parents and guardians, we have received notice that approximately 1,700 Newark Teachers Union members, including over 1,300 teachers, plan to attend the New Jersey Education Association Conference on November 5th and 6th. This rate of instructional staff absence will leave the district unable to ensure a safe and quality instructional environment in the schools. In order to assure a strong instructional program and the safety of our students, we are amending the school calendar as follows. Schools will be closed on Thursday, November 5th, 2009 as an administrative day. Schools will be closed on Friday, November 6th, 2009 in observance of Puerto Rico Recognition Day. Schools will be open on Thursday, November 19th, 2009, and schools will be open on Wednesday, April 21st, 2010. The goal was to increase the instructional year to 185 days. This amendment ensures that our goal is met, and a revised school calendar is attached for your reference. Sincerely, Dr. Clifford B. Janey, State District Superintendent. In addition, there will be notification through school messenger, and we will be piloting a new communications initiative and send out telephonically the message regarding the amendment to the school calendar on tomorrow. If families did not receive the message, please bring current information to your local school so that we can update our new system. There will be a more formal presentation with regards to this new messaging system at the November Advisory Board meeting. Thank you. Okay. All right. At this time, we will continue with our recognition of Science Park, who has been given the honor of the 2009 No Child Left Behind Blue Ribbon School Award. Science Park High School, which focuses on science and mathematics, has been cited nationally during 2009 for its commitment to academic excellence. The New Jersey Monthly Magazine ranked Science Park High School among the top 75 high schools in the state, and the U.S. News and World Report presented the school with a Silver Award for outstanding standardized test performance, proficiency rates for all students, and a challenging college-ready curriculum. The Star Ledger ranked Science Park as the #2 school in the state in the district factor group, and it has been noted that 95% of Science Park High School graduates go on to four-year colleges and universities. Recently, Science Park became the first Newark Public Schools high school to receive the distinguished No Child Left Behind Blue Ribbon School Award. The Blue Ribbon Schools programs honors public and private schools throughout the nation that are either academically superior or that demonstrate dramatic gains in student achievement in high levels. Representing the Science Park High School and coming before the advisory board will be Ms. Christine Taylor, former principal of Science Park High School, Mr. Lamont Thomas, interim principal of Science Park High School, and Mateus Batista, student advisory board representative and senior at Science Park High School. And also, I think we've been joined by the former vice principal, Mr. Mills? Madison Willis. If you would come forward as well, please.
And Ms. Joanne Hand.
And Ms. Joanne Hand. Please.
You hear me? Yes. Okay. I didn't think I'd be having this experience again, having retired, but it is truly a pleasure and an honor to come before the advisory board and the central office members or the executive staff of the Newark Public Schools. It's also fitting in a way that it should be occurring at Eastside High School, because Eastside is kind of like my other home with science. I graduated from Eastside, worked here for many years. So this is a very, very comfortable surroundings. But because of my title, I am standing up here, but not so much because of me. I was just the captain, if you will, that steered the ship. It was the crew and the passengers, the administration, the teachers, and most of you know Matt, and he exemplifies the students at Science Park High School, which really, really they're the people that did the work that made Science Park the school it is today. And we were asked to say a very, very, very few words about why Science Park High School has received this honor. And I have asked Joanne Hand, who was with the school in its inception. She went from the 4th or 5th floor, whatever it was, of Central High School, where science started, to the brewery, and then she came to the state-of-the-art new school on Norfolk Street. So if anyone has a long-term perspective of what science is all about, it would be Joanne. And those of you that know Joanne, she likes to talk, and she likes to talk about science. She's very, very committed and dedicated, but she promised me she will be brief.
Good evening. I only have a few words to say. When we went from the building at 40 Rector Street, which we occupied for 32 years, and it's interesting that we can take the success that we have as a Blue Ribbon School and go back to a building that really was ill-equipped for students to succeed, but did anyway. And we transferred that to the 2006 beautiful facility that you see. And I want to emphasize that the design of that facility was based upon research in education reform and 21st century skills for students. We have a long way to go to make sure that the kinds of things that we projected in 2006 when we moved into that building come to pass. So the academic program that exists may be strong, it must be stronger, it must emphasize technology, using digital tools, and preparing students for the 21st century. So while this is a wonderful award, it's not over, and there are more things to be done. And thank you very much for honoring Science Park High School.
Well, I was given the pleasure for 24 years to work at Science Park High School and working with the students as the head of the guidance department as well as the vice principal of that school. And I just like to thank the students, the parents, and the district for allowing me that pleasure. Out of 37 years, I had 24 there, so I thank you.
Good evening. I'll be really, really brief. What education is basically twofold. It's to reflect, which we're doing here, about our achievements that have come before us, but also it's a way to really take an assessment of what you do day to day. And as Ms. Taylor, Ms. Hand, and Mr. Willis have already indicated, I'm sort of new at it, and I've been there about 8 or so weeks. And I can attest what has moved Science Park is the students. But the other element of education, which we really need to do, is we need to take what works, in a sense, and duplicate it. It needs to be duplicated citywide so that all of our students are successful and all of our students could go into a facility that mirrors that of Science Park. I've said I was going to be brief, so I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I do want to thank the advisory board for acknowledging the achievements that our students have gathered, not the leaders, the students. Thank you.
Good evening. So just a brief comment. I have been a student under all 4 administrators, and so I can truly attest. Sometimes they try to take away. They try to put it on the students, and yes, it is the students at Science Park, but it would not be done if we did not have strong administrators and Ms. Taylor and Ms. Hand, Mr. Willis, and now Mr. Thomas. And I can attest that as this transition year from last year, Ms. Taylor, to now Mr. Thomas, the work will continue. We can see that, yes, we are a Blue Ribbon School, but we are working, like Ms. Hand said, to reach higher levels. And so we're going to continue in the work, and the students, like everyone, just to echo, the students really are the ones that are making the change at Science. And when we received the announcement, when Mr. Thomas told me, I remember running to the homeroom announcements to announce to everyone that we had become a Blue Ribbon School, and the Science Park family, community from the past and now at the present has been truly proud. So thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations again to Science Park High School for your work. Advisory board members and community and family, think of this as receiving the Academy Awards of Education. It's a very high honor indeed, in which one that we receive, not that we seek purposefully, but we do receive it because of our purposeful work. So again, congratulations. At this time, we will have parent recognitions.
Ms. King?
Okay, good evening. I'm excited to be here tonight. One, because I heard so much about East Side. I've been here before, but my sister just retired from East Side of many years working here as chairperson of special education, Miss James. So it's like I'm coming home because I've heard so much through her about it. But more importantly, we want to recognize the parents. We know it's not one single thing that can help our schools, but it's all of us together. But the parents play a very important role in making sure that our children get the best education they can get. So the Newark Public School Advisory Board Community Relations Committee wishes to recognize parents who are making a difference in the lives of our students as individuals and in our district as a whole. With approximately 40,000 students in the Newark Public Schools, there must be many, many exemplary parents. This parent recognition program, which began in 2004, will continue to shine the spotlight on those who support the district's 6-point parental involvement model, which consists of parenting, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, decision-making, and community involvement. We are pleased to recognize one parent from each region at each advisory board meeting this year. The parents were nominated by their children's principal. Tonight's Parents Recognition Award recipients are honorees from the West Region, Denise Brown from South 17th Street School. From the North Region, Adia Martinez, Elliott Street School. From the South Region, Mahalik Williams, Belmont Runyon. The East and Central Region, Sherry Carey from Eastside High School. We thank you and congratulate you all.
Thank you and congratulations, parents. At this time, board members, we will have 2 PowerPoint presentations, so I invite you to be seated in the audience area. We will have number 1, the presentation about our extended day program this year, Mr. Ivan Holmes, followed by our data assessment presentation facilitated and presented by Mr. Daniel Goll.
Good evening, Advisory Board members, Executive Committee, parents, community, fellow colleagues. My name is Ivan Holmes. I am the Director of the Office of Extended School Day Programs. The Office of Extended School Day Programs has a program after school youth development from 3:05 to 6:05 at 58 sites throughout the district. We offer supplemental educational services at 28 locations. We have a 21st Century Inclusion First grant at 4 schools, 1 in each region. We have the after-school youth development program from 6 to 8 p.m. at 37 sites, and we also oversee the Dr. Marion A. Bolden Student Center. Our dates of operation are Session 1. We began on October 5th, and we will conclude on February 26th. From March 1st through April 30th, we will have an intersession, and Session 2 will begin May 1st and end on June 11th. Our days of operation are Monday through Friday from 3:05 to 6:05 p.m. at 58 locations. We also offer supplemental educational services, Academy of Excellence. We will begin operation December 1st and conclude on April 29th. The days of the week are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The program times are from 3:05 to 5:05 p.m. and they are housed at 28 of our sites. Our 21st Century Inclusion Grant operation from October 5th through June 11th. The days of the week are Monday through Friday. The program times are from 3:05 to 6:05 p.m. and we are located at 4 sites. We also operate our after-school youth development program from 6 to 8 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and on Thursdays we operate from 6 to 9 p.m. Date of operations, October 5th through April 29th, Monday through Thursday, and we are at 37 locations. The Dr. Marion A. Bolden Student Center, dates of operation, October 5th through June 11th. Days of week, Monday through Friday. Program times from 3:05 to 8 p.m. The program location is 1 site. The students are bused to the Dr. Bolden Center from the high schools, and we have 2 departure date times, one at 6:15 and the other at 7:45 daily. Our schedule, our daily schedule in our 3 to 6 program, from 3:05 to 3:15 is our transition time. From 3:15 to 3:30 is when the youngsters have their nutritional snack. From 3:30 to 5 p.m. is our academic component, which is broken into 2 45-minute segments. Language arts literacy is Monday through Thursday, 3:30 to 4:15. Math and science from 4:15 to 5 o'clock. 2 days of science, 2 days of math. From 5 to 5:30 is our homework session, and from 5:30 to 6:05 is our recreation time. Exploring our world. is the new curriculum that is being offered in our after-school program. Exploring our world themes are Grade 2, Endangering Our Environment, Grade 3, Renewable and Non-Renewable Resources, Grade 4, Endangered Animals, Grade 5, Endangered Environment, Grade 6, Global Warming, Grade 7, Infectious Diseases, and Grade 8, Survival of the Fittest. This curriculum was developed by the Office of Extended Day, all of the supervisors, directors, and resource teachers in the departments of Language Arts Literacy, Mathematics, and Science under the direction of Ms. Sadia White and Mr. Roger Leone. Language Arts Literacy curriculum includes read-alouds, shared reading, writing conferences, reading strategies and skills, narrative text, informational text, and persuasive text. Our math curriculum includes number sense, computation, data analysis, problem solving, and probability. God bless you. Our science curriculum includes explorations, applications, data collection, and problem solving. Our culminating projects include shadow boxes, speculative writing, persuasive writing, informational writing, letter writing, public service announcements, murals, and presentations. We'd like to congratulate the Curriculum Committee, Office of Language Arts Literacy, Office of Mathematics, Office of Science, Resource Teacher Coordinators, English Department Chairpersons. That is my short presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, President Gonzalez, board members, Ms. White, Newark Public Schools staff, and our community. My name is Dan Gohl. I have the honor of serving as Executive Officer in the Office of Innovation and Change. I am here tonight to present on the Newark Public Schools academic achievement data as measured by the New Jersey assessments. The Office of Academic Services has a challenge of ensuring that our curriculum prepares students for these. The Office of Planning, Evaluation, and Testing partners with the Office of Academic Services and each of the curriculum offices to ensure that we are understanding the results of our students. Tonight, I am here to talk about two things. One is briefly about the standards themselves, and most importantly, about the performance of our students and how that has changed in recent years. The standards are defined by the state of New Jersey for all grade levels in all subject areas. However, the assessments focus on grades 3 through 8, and at the high school level, grade 11, in the areas of language arts and mathematics. New Jersey also assesses students in grade 4 and grade 8 in the content area of science. The standards should imply that there is a constant level of achievement over years by which students are expected to achieve. However, the state of New Jersey has in the past, including this past test administration, changed the definition of what is proficient against those standards. The reason that the state has changed the standards is part of an overall strategy. The federal government requires that all students be proficient in language arts and mathematics by the test administration in the spring of 2014. In order to take the students from throughout the state to that level, they have developed assessments that have increasingly higher expectations over time. This does satisfy NCLB. We do break down the assessments in terms of gender, ethnicity, and special program designations such as special education or limited English proficient. Standards and expectations are the same for all students. Using the assessment data, we then develop professional development and align our own interim or formative assessments to understand how our students will perform on the final state assessment. The state chose to implement the most recent increase in rigor in terms of the definition of proficiency in 2 stages. In spring of 2008, the standards for grades 5 through 8 were changed, with the majority of the changes taking place in grades 5 through 7. This past administration, in spring of 2009, we saw a change in the definition of proficiency for grades 3 and 4. In the results I will go over shortly, you will see that when the state increased the rigor of the assessment, the performance of Newark Public School students declines. This is driving our efforts to raise the expectations in our classrooms so that students are able to be gauged proficient for college, work, and life. What is important here on this slide, which compares the spring 2007 to spring 2009 test administrations, is that we have captured each of the testing grade levels. You see 3 vertical bands which are bunched together. For grade 3 on the far left, then there is a gap with grade 4, then grade 5. Those are clustered because when our elementary school performance, as defined by annual yearly progress, AYP, is reported by the state, we average those 3 grade levels to determine the elementary level. Grades 6, 7, and 8, which are in the center of the slide, are average for middle school performance, and grade 11 on the far right. You will see the silver band on the left-hand side of each grade level's performance represented the performance in 2007. In 2008, you see rises. Picking grade 3 on the far left, we went up 4 points. And then the state changed the standards and we dropped 27 points. You see that drop each time the state changes the standards. You will notice that the grade 11 performance as well as the grade 8 performance has remained fairly constant. That is because the state did not change the standards in those grade levels. The red bar again is the state standard. So on both the slide before and the slide here, you tend to see a gap. This is the most important visual representation on the slide, for we have much work to do. Our level of student performance is not yet at the state benchmark for proficiency. And while this data collects all students, we must ensure that each individual student is whom we are tracking. We have performed better in mathematics than in language arts, and therefore the gap is less. but the trend is that we must do better, for we are not yet closing that gap and exceeding the state benchmark. The science, the grade 11 is on the far right again, middle school 6, 7, and 8 in the middle, and grade 3, 4, and 5 on the right. Here is our science performance. The standards in science have been fairly stable. Therefore, you see that particularly in grade 4, in 3 years, we have increased our performance by 15 points. When we know what to teach the students, we are demonstrating that we can raise the level of performance. We acknowledge that our performance is below the state standard. How are we comparing to the state? This is a different presentation. What it is showing is how the change in achievement has occurred from year to year in Newark with the gold bar, and it is showing how the state's achievement has changed in the blue bar. It is grade 3 language arts on the far left, and then progressing through 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. To the center of the slide, the right-hand side of the slide represents changes in mathematics. You will see that Newark Public Schools trends are parallel to the trends of the state. While in spring of '07 to spring of '08, we went up in 3rd and 4th grade, the changing standards dropped performance for the state as a whole, as well as Newark Public Schools. This now compares '08 to '09. We changed the standards for grades 3 and 4, and you see the drop in performance, the gold bar being Newark Public Schools, the state being the blue bar. The important trend here is that our performance in the grades of 5 and above is increasing faster than the state's performance. We are slowly closing the gap. This is our passing rate compared to the benchmarks for each of the district versus the state. The state average has yet to reach the state expectation, but the gap between the gold bar and the blue bar is how far we are behind the average in the state. We have much work to do. It is not enough to indicate the gaps we have to close as an average, for averages can mask individual students. They can also mask trends within students, and therefore we break this data down by other criteria, demographic criteria. Here is the ethnic differences in grade 3 language arts. The silver bar in 2007 represents the African American percent students found proficient or advanced proficient. The middle blue bar represents the Hispanic population performance, and the green bar represents the white student performance. You can compare 2007, 2008, and 2009. You again see reflected in the difference between 2008 and 2009 the changed standards for each. The height of each bar drops, but we are gravely concerned about the disproportionate drop in African American performance that went from 63% proficient and advanced proficient down to 30% proficient and advanced proficient. This is grade 5 mathematics. We still have a significant ethnic group difference in performance for in our schools, where we expect all students, regardless of background, to achieve at the same level, we are not there yet. In addition to ethnicity, we must also be concerned about trends that may be tied to gender. For this data reflects the level of achievement of each of our students. The silver bar is female, the blue bar is male. And on this test, we happen to pick 8th grade mathematics. There is a gap. Just as we have differences in performance based on our instruction and achievement by ethnicity, we also must acknowledge that we need to figure out how to close a gender gap. This is 11th grade language. Different grade level, different subject matter. But the gap in performance persists. What other factors are influencing the performance of our students? We have chosen to present the one that, given the analysis, makes the biggest difference: attendance. What you see here is a red bar and a green bar. The red bar are students who have attended less than 90% of the instructional year. The green bar represents students who have attended more than 90%. What you see from the left to the right is that the green bar grows. That means that the more you attend in school, the more likely you are to be advanced proficient than you are likely to be far below proficient. On the far left, we have what's called a scale score of 160 or below. Those students are at least 2 grade levels behind in performance. They may be more. 160 to 180 and 180 to 199 represent those students who are between 1 and 2 years. 200 is where a student needs to be minimally proficient. It is little different in mathematics, and in fact, you can see that the difference between those students who attend and do not attend for advanced proficient is profound. 80% of the students who are advanced proficient have been to school more than 90% of the time. Being in school makes a difference. Intelligence is a learned behavior, and you learn in an academic environment. Eighth grade language arts. This one is done for cumulative, as opposed to breaking each score down. The trend is the same. The more students are in attendance, the higher they achieve. The same trend for mathematics at grade 8. As we analyze this data by grade level, by ethnicity, and by gender, the trend is the same. Being in school equates with high achievement. We acknowledge that the state of New Jersey assessments are not why the Newark Public Schools is investing the time, energy, and resources of its personnel and the hopes and dreams of the community. We need to ensure college readiness for every student. For every student needs to be a graduate, and every graduate needs to be college ready. All students are to be college ready. In the past, it was commonly held that students planning to go to college needed more rigorous coursework than those going directly into the workforce. We no longer believe that we have a crystal ball that will tell us who, as a teenager, will need to be college ready and who does not. Every student needs a rigorous program of study. And we have data to back that up. Our economy is requiring entry-level workers to have a skill set identical to those needing to go to college. The primary mission is that every student will be able to lead a meaningful and productive life. All students will need knowledge and skills to take advantage of opportunities and have real options upon graduation. We will be deploying college-level assessments for our high school students to ensure that we have the expectation and the results to show you not what New Jersey expects, but what our students will need. This is the slide that pays. On the left, you have the employment rate in 2008. At the bottom, you have students less than high school. Please remember that the unemployment rate has only grown in 2009, for the recession has taken its biggest hit this year, while it started last year. For students with less than a high school diploma, they had a 9% unemployment rate. Students who had at least a bachelor's degree were 2.8%. And if you had a professional or doctoral degree, you were at 2%. Job security is a result of the investment of education. But it's not only whether or not one is employed, it's the compensation you receive. Your weekly income with less than a high school diploma was $426, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. With a bachelor's degree, you more than double that. 4 years more of education for a lifetime of doubling your income. And if you go farther for a master's, a professional, or a doctorate degree, you increase it again by almost a factor of 2. What the data is telling us is that thus far, we are not preparing our students to climb this ladder of payment. We have a large number of initiatives that are being undertaken by the Office of Academic Services. We have begun a system of interim assessments, and under the guidance of our Chief Academic Officer, Ms. White, her deputy, Mr. Roger Leone, and each of our regional superintendents, we are partnering with the schools so that they can dive deeply into this data, not by averages, not by ethnicities, and not by gender alone, but by the name of each student. For each percentage point represents about 30 students, and there is a name and a family attached to each one of those. And as we raise performance, we raise the expectation for every student. Beyond our interim assessments, the superintendent will be rolling out a strategic plan at the end of this month that will state how Newark Public Schools, in partnership with the advisory board and the entire Newark community, will ensure that every graduate is college, work, and life ready. Thank you.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Holmes or Mr. Gold? Mr. Holmes, if you can come back to the mic for a second. Ms. King, you have a question for Mr. Holmes? I have some questions.
I just want to thank Dr. Gold for that presentation. It was really interesting, especially in terms of the difference between the African Americans and all that. And that's one of the reasons why we need to ensure the Amistad Act is enforced in the school district. Just as he said, to make sure we bring all our students equally up to the standard that we need to do. So I just want to thank him because I thought it was a good presentation.
Mr. Holmes, I have a couple questions. Mr. Holmes, can you tell us how many students we serve each and every day in your extended program?
We service approximately 4,350 students,
okay,
roughly, per day, 3 to 6.
Okay, and how many students are participating in the Student Center?
In the Student Center, we average anywhere from 75 to 100 students daily.
I'm just going to make one request. I know what extended day does. Again, I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to make a request that the administration make sure that we bring all these other outside providers to the table to have discussions about what they're doing with our students as well. If we're going to hold extended day to this level, we need to make sure that any provider that comes out and is assisting our students is held at the same level. So I'm going to make that request through the administration to bring everybody in so that we can see that where all our students are when they participate in extended day programs, whether it be with the district or outside agencies. So I'm going to make that request, and if we can have that information as students move forward, okay? Mr. Holmes, I want to thank you for the presentation. I want you to know that this board is in full support of your program and support the same way the district's in support of extended day. I want to thank you. Mr. Gold.
Sir.
Mr. Gold, I'm going to ask a couple questions. I don't expect you to answer this tonight. But again, when we look at these results, we look holistically as a whole. And my concern is individually. What is going on in each specific school. And my request to the administration is, how are we going to see gradual growth at schools that are performing below 40%? How are we going to see gradually a 3-year plan on how are we going to think outside the box to meet higher standards? Because what's happening in our city, a lot of people are asking those types of questions. How can we see one school at this level and one school way, way, way at the lowest level? So we need to figure that out. And another thing I'm going to ask is the number of experienced teachers at that school, the number of years the administrators have been at that school, and things like that. I just need to see that to understand that, because again, when we get that, when we see this report, specifically we're being asked about specific schools. And we need to understand what's going to happen at those specific schools to meet the benchmarks, meet AYP, okay? Any questions for Mr. Gold? Thank you, Mr. Gold.
Thank you.
Ms. White.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes and Mr. Gold, and board members. We will then come back and give you updates. Finally, Superintendent Janey wanted to add that in September, Howard University Band performed at the first football game at Malcolm X Shabazz, providing the halftime entertainment. As a reciprocal act in kind, the district is proud to announce that our Malcolm X Shabazz High School Band has been invited to perform for the President Barack Obama of the United States will be the honored guest. We are proud of our students and happy about the invitation, and we know that the band members and their chaperones will represent Newark Public Schools in top quality fashion and make this a great experience as they share the stage with our president. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. White. Now we have a report from our student representative, Matthew Batiste.
Good evening, board. Good evening, community members. I'm just going to give a feedback on what we've been working on from the student perspective at the district level. I have been working with Ms. Deering. Is Ms. Deering here? Ms. Nancy Deering. We just need to recognize Ms. Deering, who has been working 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock meetings with me to get hold of meetings at the student level. We're working on putting together a committee of students. There would be 2 students selected from each high school that would be meeting on a regular basis. And we would be working on, these are some ideas, we have student handbooks, a panel that would report to the board. So we're moving forward, and we have that it's all getting together, it's coming along, and we're hoping that in the next few weeks, we can actually get that in place. So we're hoping that, and that would be a way that, because one of the things that I had mentioned when we at our last meeting was that I wanted to bridge the community between the student and the district level. And so by gathering students from every high school, that's what we're going to be able to do. We're going to bridge that gap that from the central office to every individual high school. And that's how we have those 2 individual student reps. So we're going to be working on that to wrap that up.
Thank you, Matthew. Board members, we're going to move to the voting session. Educational service, we have 3 items. Mr. Arnold, Chair of the Curriculum Committee, reported at our business meeting that those items were reviewed and they are okay for approval. So if I can have a motion and a second to take the items as a whole, items 1 through 3. Moved by Mr. Lewis, second by Ms. King. Educational service 1 through 3 as a whole. Roll call.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King? Yes. Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera? Yes. Ms. Romero? Ms. Davis-Spate? Ms. White? Okay, do it again? Okay.
Roll call again to vote on items.
Okay.
Roll call.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King? Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Davis-Spate? Ms. White?
Okay, next items, finance. We have 1 through 31. These were reviewed by Chairperson Pintor. There was no items raised at the Finance Committee meeting. So if we can take the package as a whole, 1 through 31, if I can have a motion to take the package. Moved by Ms. White, second by Ms. Pintor. Roll call to take the package as a whole.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King? Yes. Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero? Yes. Ms. Davis-Spate? Ms. White?
Same mover and second for a vote. Roll call.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King? Yes. Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Davis-Spate? Ms. White?
We have 1 legal item. It was reviewed in our legal committee chaired by Ms. King. I can have a motion and second to present this resolution. Moved by Ms. King. Moved by Mr. Rivera. Second by Ms. Pintor. I'm sorry, chaired by Ms. White. I apologize. Chaired by Ms. White. I'm sorry. Second by Ms. Pintor. Roll call to accept resolution number 1 for a vote.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King? Mr. Lewis?
Mr. Lewis. Ms.
Yes.
King abstains. Mr. Lewis, yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Davis-Spate? Ms. White?
Okay, we will now move to public participation. Ms.
Okay.
Polak.
Yes. Under the Sunshine Law, the district must provide notice of all open meetings to allow citizens to attend and observe the deliberations of the district. However, the district believes that citizens should also be afforded an opportunity to comment upon district policies which affect them and welcomes the opportunity to hear the concerns, wishes, and ideas of the public. In order to assure that the members of the public who wish to appear before the advisory board may be heard, while at the same time preserving the proper, efficient conduct of the advisory board meetings, the district has adopted the rules and procedures for public participation in open meetings as set forth below. Individuals and organizations must register with the superintendent's office in writing by 4:00 p.m., 5 calendar days prior to the meeting, giving her name, address, telephone number, and a detailed description of the subject to be addressed. An individual may address the advisory board for no more than 3 minutes. 5 minutes is set aside for one representative of an organization to speak. All other representatives for the same organization will be treated as individuals and given 3 minutes to speak. Time limit for all speakers will be enforced. In fairness to all, please be advised that an individual who is registered to speak cannot give his/her time to another individual, and speakers must be present when their name is called. State Superintendent or Advisory Board Chairperson may interrupt any speaker or terminate any individual's speaking privilege if the speaker's comments are disruptive or obscene. An individual may be cautioned that a personally directed statement may be slanderous or defaming and that the individual may be liable for his or her statements. Any individual or group that does not follow these procedures may be asked to leave the meeting. If necessary, the advisory board meeting will be adjourned.
First speaker.
Eamon Brown.
London. She called Iman Brown. I just wanted to make sure. I was confused for a second as well. Just hold on. Mr. Brown? Not present. Next speaker.
Donald Jackson.
I see Mr. Jackson.
Is he coming?
Yeah, he's on his way.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Donald Jackson, and I live at 79 Tracy Avenue, Newark, New Jersey, 07108. It's going to take all of the parents and staff and administrators to fix the problem at my high school and other schools in Newark. In this district, we still have schools where staff are suspending students for not wearing uniforms. Give me 1 second. We have staff who are attacking students, and I wanted to know this discipline policy that we formed in the last year. Is it in place, or are we going to follow it? In my school, the administrator and the administration team is working hard to build a better climate inside our school building. We started a school climate survey where we asked students how they felt about their building, what they felt about their building, and do they feel that their building is safe. Even though I still have not met Dr. Talbot, he has been coming to my school weekly to work with my school to help build a better climate. The heat in my building fell due to years of neglect. The reason is that backup scale inside the boilers build up and cause the boiler to swell, and the boilers nearly exploded. Thanks to the work of our head custodians, I'm here today to tell you this story, because if it was not taken care of, the building would have been destroyed. The state inspected the boilers and said that it was ready for operation. My question to the board is, who is making sure that this previous head custodian and others are doing what they're supposed to make sure that this problem does not happen in any school in the district? For the past 4 days, we have lost at least 5 students between the ages of 11 and 15 to violence in this city. Board members, the violence in this city is escalating. The mayor says crime is down. That's a lie. We're still losing students. We are losing friends. We are losing children. We are losing our students. Board members, you must become involved in the schools and in this district to make sure that we do not lose any more students. Last week, my school received disturbing news. Ms. Long, a long-committed, dedicated worker at my school for 17 years, passed away. The school is planning a memorial planning a memorial Monday in honor of her dedication to Malcolm X Shabazz High School. Finally, board members, again, I come to the board meetings and I tell you all have a lot of work to do, and we need to get involved in these schools. Thank you.
Next speaker. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Bernardo Maldonado.
Next speaker.
Veronica Williamson.
Ms. Williamson, 9th Avenue. What I need for the principal of Barringer High School to do for me is to stop lying. The month of September, there were 5 incidents that he reported, but there were really 33. I have with me tonight some data that I collected for the month of October of this year of incident reports of students, 43 incidents within the month of October, not even including on last Thursday, the riot between the blacks and the Dominicans. 14 for fighting, 12 conduct unbecoming. Somebody have to explain to me what that is. 17 defiant behaviors and 2 profanities. Some students were out for fighting 9 days, defiant behaviors 7 days, conduct becoming even 10 days. I think that's just a little bit too long for someone to be suspended. Out of those 43, 40 of the incidents were handled by other administrators, 3 by the principal. Where is he? He needs to be handling his school building. During on last week, the 22nd, during the riot, there was an officer who was injured during that riot. I'm now going to request for an out-of-placement district for my 11th grader, in which I've done for my 5-year-old, who will be leaving this district because of unsafe conditions. My son couldn't be here tonight, but he wanted to mention and discuss the lunch application. For his school, students are still not eating, not only in his school, but throughout the district. When I called the school, I was told that they sent everything to 2 Cedar Street. The holdup was you guys. So I'm asking, what is the holdup? On last week, I faxed to Dr. Janey a letter about the unsafe conditions in my son's class at Broadway Elementary's BD program. My son is still home. He's been home for 2 weeks. 2 weeks now. All the paperwork has been sent down to special education for home instruction. The doctor's note, we're just waiting for them to find someone. So if you guys can kind of push that for me, because he doesn't need to be sitting home any longer. And one last thing to the president, when you call your friends tonight in the North Ward, you make sure you tell them exactly what Ms. Williamson said. Thank you.
Next speaker. Next speaker.
Donna Jackson.
She's here. I want the minutes from the last meeting.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ms. Jackson.
Let me first say that I appreciate everyone's love, compassion, and phone calls of concern for me while I was in the hospital. I really appreciate that, and thank you all for being worried. Now I really know you guys love me. Ms. King, I got your message. Marquise, Sammy, and everybody else. Thank you very much. Now, let's move right along. However, from my hospital bed, I had to call here to remind you guys that you need to feed these kids lunch, particularly during the testing week. I don't know who dropped the ball on that. Has to be the superintendent, because he made the decision for the kids not to eat. But if we're going to throw a testing weekend, we cannot be playing games with who got $1.50 and who doesn't. We shouldn't be playing that game anyway. First of all, eligibility letters have not gone out to the parents. Second of all, we have not had the opportunity to review and scrutinize the system because you still have children who receive food stamps that are being required to pay for lunch. Same problem we had last year. So until we fix whatever's wrong, we need to stop penalizing the children with not eating and going through forward with this sanctioning and holding kids harmless for something that's not their fault. Particularly when you have not notified the parents that the kid needs to pay. It is unfair to have staff and other people continue to keep paying for lunch for these kids, and it is very unfair now for the climate that we have caused, particularly in our high schools. Now children are taking money from other kids so that they can eat. Problem number one. Problem number two. No, Dr. Janey, you're new here and your staff, but we have murders in Newark. We lose high school students here. You guys better hurry up and get a team together to send into these schools. I was very disturbed that we lost a Weekway High School student, not current, but previous year, and we had no one at Weekway High School. Disturbed that we lost an AVC student. You didn't send nobody in there either. We are at 30 murders for the last 2 weeks. Guess what? Get the team ready, because you're going to need them. It is unacceptable that nobody was available at any of these schools. This Newark, New Jersey, not D.C., keep trying to tell y'all that. We bang in Newark. We got gang members in Newark. Gang members go to school. Gang members go to class. Not necessarily do the right thing after school, but during the school day, most of the time they all right. Not promise that they're going to make it to the next day, and a lot of innocent bystanders get involved as well. So I know that wasn't the agenda in D.C., but that's the agenda here in Newark. Our mayor fights crime only with his mouth, not with methods. So we got crime in Newark. Crime is up. 30 murders in 2 weeks. Yes, it's going to be some of our children. Board members, you still need to get into these schools. These principals are not following the rules. These high school principals, in this school too, are attacking these children about this uniform. The high school uniform was not to be implemented till September 2010. Will you please tell your staff to leave these kids and families alone? Stop harassing these parents, stop harassing these kids about putting on uniform. Now, in the comprehensive high schools, I must say we have done an outstanding job with Malik, Rafiq, Maria, Carlos, and San Juan putting on the uniform because you asked them. But you don't have the right to discriminate and put kids in detention and suspend them that don't have it on and leave them at the end of the line. This kid's outside this building every day late to 9:30. I want it corrected tomorrow. It's getting cold now. Every high school has a process, but they're still continuing to keep the kids outside. Lastly, I don't know what this SLC meeting is about, but I attended the one yesterday. What a joke. Just like everything else in this district, you put policy in place, people don't follow it. They are still not sending any packet home with kids when they get suspended. The parental appeal form is not going home. The fact that the kid is being suspended is not going home. The notification that the kid is in SOS ain't going home. So guess what, Ms. White, Dr. Janey, they still ain't listening to you. Probably mad because y'all in here laying everybody off, and as we see the little riot in D.C. this week too. So this is across the country, laying people off, doing what you want to do. Once again, let me introduce you. This is Newark, New Jersey. We do things different here. You guys need to start talking to some of us and stop bringing all these other cuckoos in here who don't got a clue what's going on. Good night.
Next speaker.
Lucius Jones.
Hi, Diamond. Mr. Jones, how are you?
I'm fine. Advisory board, I'm going to start my conversation. Lucius Jones, 224 Richard Terrace, United Parents Network. My bullets are basically strategic plan, interim, the assessments, student learning opportunities, and I'm going to be talking about struggling students and H1N1. And we're going to try to wrap it up in that type, in that sequence. When Dr. Janey, Ms. White, I hope when we created the strategic plan that we're addressing the needs of special needs students. There seems to be a major issue here in the city of Newark when you look inside a lot of these comprehensive high schools and you see that you have so many youngsters who are in special education that needs are not being addressed. So I'm hoping that we have find a paragraph or a chapter or two that can cover our special needs students that are having these issues in the public schools. The other one is the interim assessment. I'm a little concerned about how the interim assessment affect youngsters that have special needs. How is it going to improve their academic levels? How are teachers going to be able to use the cumulative progress indicators to support those students in those classrooms where we have youngsters that can 8th and 9th and 12th and 11th grade that are reading on the 4th grade and 3rd grade level? It's very important that we be able to align what's happening for young people in general ed to what's happening to youngsters in special needs classes, because a lot of our youngsters are not progressing. Learning opportunities. There doesn't seem to be or needs to be more new, creative, research-based learning opportunities for youngsters with special needs. Our youngsters with special needs are sometimes bundled together, 16 in a class, 17 in a class, 18 in a class. A lot of them don't have, like I know at ABC, we don't have an after-school program. How are we addressing the needs of special needs students when it comes down to learning opportunities? My sister went in school in West Side in 9th grade, and literally when she took the IEP, interim IEP to go into high school, she learned just about the same amount when she took the test in the 11th grade. So there were really no learning opportunities for the youngsters who have special needs in some of these comprehensive and the magnet schools. The other one is struggling students. All of our students may be struggling. We know that based on data. The issue is, how are the most needy of the students? On the data that was demonstrated to me, that was shown to me, we show that a large percentage of African American kids are at the bottom of the totem pole as far as academics. However, the money is not evenly distributed to support and assist those youngsters that are at the bottom of the totem pole, and that needs to be adjusted. We need to be addressing the needs of youngsters who have the need, not just the youngsters who can meet the mark. And H1N1. My H1N1 concerns are, at this point, the Office of Facilities have a shortage of substitute custodians. They will not get a replacement custodian until at least 2 custodians are out. How can that be when we're having cases with H1N1? Custodians, if we're going to have a building needs 4 or 3 and we're only having 1 or 2, how can we clean the entire building if we don't have adequate facilities people in the building cleaning the building? To do that means that we put everybody, teachers, staff, and everyone who enters in jeopardy. And I would like to ask that this administration looks into what the issue is with making sure we have adequate substitute instead of, like in our West region, we only have 2 custodians to cover 20 schools. That is a major, major problem. And that needs to be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Next speaker.
Deanna Kamina.
Come.
Diana Quamana, P.O. Box 6026, Newark. I'm here to talk about an incident that has happened at Westside High School from September 25th to October 22nd. I received some urgent phone calls from parents regarding their children being turned away from the school and have been told to go back home because some of them was considered late at 8:20 a.m. Because the students did not show their ID, they was told to go home. The IDs were supposed to be taken to schedule them for detention. Unacceptable. Some children were being turned away because they was not dressed in uniform. I pulled out my cell phone because I was at the school personally standing with the children when I was told to go home because I had on a t-shirt and blue jeans at that time. I am not a student. I pulled out my cell phone and I called the school and I spoke to Ms. Furlow. I'm not sure of her name, but she came to the phone very arrogant and said to me, "That is not true." I never went into details with her what I was calling for, but yet it was not true. I want things to change in that school for the better of our students, parents, and your staff members. But when we have head administrators that's power hungry and willing to go over the top official's head to undermine you by doing things in the school that is unacceptable, we as parents are bringing it to your attention. I am hoping that you correct it because no security guard should have been given the authority to tell children to go home and schedule them for detention. This matter must be looked into. Your administrators must be dealt with. Accountability needs to be held on their heads. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Valerie Quinones.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening, Ms. Quinones.
My name is Valerie Quinones. There's about 1,200 kids in Westside High School. I have witnessed when they have turned kids away because a lot of the kids cannot get bus tickets. 90% of the kids that go to Westside is from Bellsburg. If you keep turning these kids away, you won't have a school. They turn them away on the lunch programs. You got security doing the same thing. I am a witness to it. Plus, you got security, and I seen this myself the other day, where they have student pictures at their desk looking like the American Most Wanted that's on suspension. That's inappropriate. Then you got principals, vice principals, and staff doing everything but the right thing. They're not doing the job they're supposed to be. Staff is not supposed to be in the house, out in the hallways monitoring the kids. It should be the principal. Security is there to protect the school, staff and all. They shouldn't be out there collecting IDs. And I can tell you, I'm a witness to it. I was outside. And there's been a lot of kids on my street turned away. Now I am asking, I am begging, give us Bellsburg High back. Since 88, 89, that is when our kids went down to West Side. We only have one high school. We got a lot of elementaries. The new speedway is being built, be ready 2010. Ivy Elementary, up around that area, have went to Mount Vernon, come back to Ridgeview. That's Lincoln. What I am saying, don't send our kids to the old Central. Our kids live in the West Ward. Then I'm being told that there's other kids, when they got problems, they shipping them to West Side. The lower part of Bellsburg, which is at West Side, that is their school. I want my school back, Bellsburg High School. Send Ivy Elementary back to Mount Vernon. Don't play the games with the parents, because I'm back out here and I will fight until I get Bellsboro High back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keelan. Next speaker.
Tenton Evans.
She's not here. Next speaker.
Next.
Yeah. Next speaker.
Yvonne Murray.
Next speaker.
Darlene Grimsley.
Next speaker.
Van Ness Roper.
Minister Roper. Next speaker.
Yvonne Smith.
Next speaker.
Marshall Bright Mitchell.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Marsha Bright Mitchell, one of the concerned parents from 15th Avenue School about the overcrowded conditions. Kindergarten started out with 34 kids. Now we have 31 kids in the class, one teacher, and about 2 or 3 teachers' aides. That's unacceptable for the parents. That class itself is too crowded. The kids cannot learn. They're coming out of a preschool and they're sitting on the floor. The teacher has, say, if she have 2 or 3 kids that she's doing a special project with, you got all the other kids there, and all the kids are being distracted. There's too many aides in the classroom with them. We need another teacher. First grade is overcrowded, 27 kids. 5th grade is overcrowded. Now, when I called, they said that we could have up to 26 kids in the kindergarten. I don't think so. My paper says maybe 21. I wish we could get 16. We need another teacher. I do not want to be told where we're looking into it, because if I have to come back to the next meeting, you will see my face again, because we need a teacher. There are empty classrooms. We can have another teacher. We're also being told to transfer our kids out. Why? Why should we transfer our kids? They're used to that environment, their teacher, their school, they live in the neighborhood. Why should we bus them somewhere else to satisfy the board and Newark Public Schools? I'm asking that someone look into this and get back with me or one of the parents at 15th Avenue School, because we want a teacher in the classroom, an extra teacher in the classroom. That's all I have to say.
Is Mr. Taylor here? Is Dr. Taylor here? Dr. Taylor, if you can have a conversation with Ms. Bright Mitchell, when you get an opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Next speaker.
Stephen Outing.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Stephen Outing. I'm the president of the Intergenerational Youth Organization. It was founded by my beloved grandmother, the late Bessie Walker Williams, who was the oldest graduate at Rutgers University at the age of 79. Advisory Board President Sammy Gonzalez, I really hope you look into this matter of changing the funding formula for the Abbott district, because the parent that just came before the mic at 15th Avenue Street School, we need to look at over the next 3 years with the state changing the funding formula. How is it going to affect the classroom status? How is it going to affect how many children in the classroom? How is it going to affect the after-school programs? From my understanding from some parents calling me this week, they were telling me that they were cutting the days back. It was 5 days a week. Now they're telling me that it's only going to be 4 days a week. for the after-school program. Well, yes, and another issue I wanted to address is the secondary parent council normally receives a request of the standardized test scores in the month of August. From my understanding, they never received this information, as this information is very vital to that organization so that they can disseminate it to all the parents in the high schools in the city of Newark. And I'm calling on Mr. Gonzalez, the district release the special education report, and we need all categories released to the Secondary Parents Council, because this information is very important to the community. If we're gonna truly deal with these issues, we all are stakeholders. We need to have the naked truth and not a well-dressed lie. We need the facts, we need the information, we need it promptly, we need it now, and we're not gonna settle for anything less. And earlier I heard Mr. Gold, I believe he's from Washington, D.C., do his presentation in reference to the district and scores. We need more breakdowns. I'm happy that you asked the question, Mr. Gonzalez, in reference to benchmarks, and we need a breakdown of what problems in which schools and what neighborhood, so we can look and go to the root of the problem, which I understand it to be, is miseducation. Now, these children are now in the 9th grade who went through the SFA program. And I'm interested to know how these children are doing now that they are in the 9th grade. The SFA, to me, was a symbol of failure for all. It was not a good curriculum, and it was only introduced in a predominantly African American and Latino community. And I'm very interested in finding out how these kids are doing on the GEPA test and how these kids are functioning now in high school. And also, I want to salute Marquise Lewis for being the youngest member of the advisory board. And I just want to say, brother, stay strong, pay close attention, do your own research, treat people how you want to be treated, and be like the tree planted firmly at the river with roots in it. Good evening.
Mr. Outing, Mr. Outing.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Holmes, if you can do me a favor and have a conversation with Mr. Outing about extended day. Mr. Outing, Mr. Holmes is there. He gave a presentation today.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Lyndon Brown.
Good evening. Lyndon Brown, 220 South 6th Street. I'm the president of the 13th Avenue School PTA, and I'm here tonight to raise several concerns. First, let me say that we are very pleased with the appointment of Ms. Linda Irby Jackson as principal at 13th Avenue School. She is visible, she is parent-friendly, and she is holding staff accountable. And she is concerned about our children. This has been most evident when we discovered that she was personally taking money out of her own pocket to make sure that every child eats a decent lunch. This she did not on one occasion, but on numerous occasions. Even when irate parents came to the school to express their disdain for the humiliation their children endured when they were forced to eat 2 pieces of bread and a slice of cheese, while other students received a hot lunch. Parents whose children are lactose intolerant and cannot eat cheese, while others were allergic to the alternative peanut butter and jelly, she still made sure that students received a hot lunch. I'm concerned about the fact that many of the students who are on the master eligibility list to receive free or reduced lunch still have not received it. We're wondering, are refunds going to be given to families once it is determined that they truly are eligible? My second concern are the horrendous scores for 2009 for the HESPA and the New Jersey Ask. Our students did very poorly, as you know, and we are suggesting that you help us to change that mindset by making sure that parents and students get a copy of their individual standardized test scores. Year after year, students take these NJS tests and they never hear about their results. Parents don't receive those results. And so we see the same dynamic over and over and over again. I know our teachers are already inundated with paperwork, but someone needs to take a look at this issue. I also want to talk about the SCS applications. A lot of students in the district are eligible for free tutoring, and I'd like to know how many students are eligible and how many have signed up. For the past several years, we've seen millions of dollars being put forward for this program, but just a handful of students taking advantage of it. I want to request increased security presence around our high schools during the Halloween season. Finally, I know the summer has passed. However, the summer reading assignments could have been more organized. I'd like to ask, who selected the summer reading book list? I've received complaints from some of the parents who had difficulty accessing the summer reading assignment list, and the 7th grade book was quite offensive to many parents. I'd like to read an excerpt. As he walked up Himmel Street, Mama would open the window and cry out, "Don't be home too late, boy." "Not so late, Mama." He turned around and called back, "Sucker, lick my ass. I'll speak as loud as I want." It's in the book. I know that's offensive, but I want to know who thought that was appropriate for our children. Hopefully next summer someone will take a closer look on the advisory board and in the district to see what is appropriate for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Next speaker. Next speaker.
Taheem Thomas.
Taheem Thomas. Next speaker.
Ethel Smith.
Next speaker.
Orrin Murray.
Next speaker.
Radisha Scott.
Next speaker.
Maureen Robinson.
Next speaker.
Linnell Morris.
Next speaker.
Lizette Costa.
Next speaker.
Kathleen Witcher.
All right, that concludes public participation. We will now move to reports from advisory board committee reports. Old or new business? Let me just, before we close and adjourn this meeting, let me ask everyone in attendance to please assist the board in the district with getting out to our parents that on November 5th and 6th, school will be closed, and those days will be made up November 19th and April 21st. I have to tell you all honestly, I was extremely disappointed with what transpired. Because at the end of the day, adults were making decisions, and it was affecting our children. To see that a number of people who were going to be out of the work that day was amazing. When the district presented to the board the 185-day calendar, we were extremely excited to see in the month of November we were going to be in school. Because in the past, I think we only had 8 to 9 school days. And having that week freed up allowed us the opportunity to have our kids in school. Again, decisions are made by adults. They don't realize how they affect our students and our families. And always we need to realize we need to think about our students. And for those teachers who were coming to work that day, they should be commended. They should be honored, and certificates should be given to them for coming to work that day. And for those that took advantage of their rights, again, we're extremely disappointed in that decision. Any comments?
Mr. Gonzalez.
Vote, Mr. Lewis.
Board, I had the opportunity to visit Dr. Horton Street School, and I was given a tour by our new vice principal, Larry Ram-Kassoon, and I was amazed to see as I walked through the building that every child was in the classroom learning, they was into their lesson, and it wasn't no child walking around the building, but they was really there to learn. So I just wanted to commend Dr. Horton, they were here, but they left, so I just wanted to give them the kudos for doing an awesome job in our district. Also, I wanted to address a few concerns from the parents. One of the concerns was when we put the uniform initiative into the high school into play, by any means we did not mean to try to attack any of our students by suspending. If you as a parent have an individual person who you could prove to us that been suspended, we would like you to bring it to the board so we can investigate that incident. But we are here to serve the students. I believe as a board we have done a great job. Even though we have different visions, we all have the same goal. So we have been doing an excellent job working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Any other comments? Ms. White.
I have to echo the sentiments of President Gonzalez in reference to the 2 days off that had to, actually NPS was forced to close the schools on those days. And it's incredibly disheartening because our children are losing these days. Unfortunately, we've had to make them up with some other development days. But in good faith, NPS negotiated with the teachers union in good faith. And we believed in that good faith that teachers would honor that contract. And unfortunately, some of the teachers did not. Again, I would like to applaud the teachers that have honored that contract and have honored that agreement and that would have been there on that day. But again, it's disappointing. Our children are here to learn. And we saw it in the program by the presentation by Mr. Gold, that if you are in school, you're able to learn. If you are out of school, your chances of learning and picking up that important information decreases, of course. So we have 2 days out of school for our children where they are not able to learn, and it's unfair. It's unfair not only to them, but it's unfair to families who have to rearrange their schedule to make sure that their children are taken care of and provided for and safe. So again, as a board member, and I can speak on behalf of the board and say this, that we are disappointed that the contract wasn't honored, the good faith wasn't honored, and again, want to applaud those teachers who understood the importance of being in our classrooms and teaching our children.
Anyone else? Ms. King.
I just want to say to the audience, and of course I know the board members know, that we truly care about each and every student in this school. The crime rate that we see across the country, and also particularly here in Newark, really concerns us. And in the Community Development Committee, Mr. Rivera and I and other members, we're thinking of ways how we can get more parental involvement so we can help change the way this climate, this negative climate of crime that's in our community. But I also must say, sometimes people think that we are not going to the schools or talking to parents. Every single day almost, parents are calling and we're trying to assist them. You may not hear us talking about it here, but we have so many parents who can attest to that. So on that note, Mr. Gonzalez, I have to bring up Ms. Stokes, whose son attends Shabazz, and his life was threatened, and we're very much concerned about it. I've talked to many people, and I want to say, Mr. Gonzalez, thank you and Dr. Janey for trying to assist in this situation, but I think something needed to happen like yesterday. So I just want to say it here to be on record that Mrs. Stokes' son, he's not in school now, his life was threatened, and I think we need to do something immediately.
Thank you, Ms. King. Any other comments, board members, before we adjourn?
Mr. Gonzalez,
Mr. Lewis.
Question.
Yes.
Can we look into forming a crisis team, so to help our students, assist our students when we have tragic losses inside our high schools and elementary schools.
We will look into that, Ms. Lewis. Thanks for bringing that up. Any other questions or comments before we adjourn the meeting? Motion to adjourn. Moved by Ms. King, second by Mr. Lewis.